Hi everyone, Mr. Ben here, and today for Science Explorers we did an experiment where we did some melting of some ice. Now you've probably seen the salt trucks out on the road spreading salt and sand and maybe wondered why we do that and how that actually helps keep the road safe. So you can see in front of me I have an experiment where we have taken some ice, we placed it into cups, and we've added a bunch of different substances to that. So we did salt and we have done sand, but just to kind of really test and see if there's other things that we could be using, we also did sugar and cornstarch, and then we have our control over here where we just see how ice melts all on its own. So if you want to conduct this at home, you can set this up, but it will take a little bit of while. You'll have to check on it periodically throughout the day to see how things are going. And you can use different things than what I've used. You might not have cornstarch, but you could use flour, and you can use other things like that. But to move back to our salt and sand, because that is what we put on the roads, so how does that actually work? Well, it has to do with what temperature actually is, which is the movement of the atoms and molecules in matter. So the slower they're moving, the colder things are. The faster they're moving, the hotter things are. And when we add or subtract energy, that changes the temperature. Well, how does salt change that? Well, what happens is salt, when it gets absorbed by the water, it actually kind of breaks apart and it interferes with the ice crystals. See, this is how an ice crystal would look. The molecules of water arrange themselves. When they're in a liquid form, they're kind of flowing over each other. But as it gets really cold, they start to form a lattice, this hexagonal shape where all of them are arranged. Well, what happens is the salt gets in the way and stops them from being able to do that. So it'll knock one of these out, and then this can't form that ice crystal, causing it to melt. Okay? So that's how salt works, but why do we put sand on the road if salt is going to melt it like that? Well, sand works in a more mechanical way. See, salt, or the sand rather, when it gets onto the ice, at the very least, it's going to create a rough surface because ice is really smooth, so it's slippery. But when you put the sand on top of that, it makes it coarse like sandpaper, and so when your wheels are going across that, they won't slip as easily. Plus, sand tends to be darker in color, and that means it can absorb more of the sun's energy, which gives it out to the ice, giving that energy to the ice and causing it to melt back into water. So if you would like to, I encourage you to conduct this experiment. If you would like to send me your results, you can send it to cmssny.org. You can look that up on the website if you didn't grab that. And I would love to find out what your results were. Until next time, friends.